Please welcome Stefanie Sanford, Chief of Global Policy and External Relations at the College Board, and Rick Cruz, the College Board's Executive Director of Strategic Partnerships.
Good morning. As the voice of God said, I'm Rick Cruz, and I lead partnerships for the College Board. Stefanie here is our Chief of Global Policy and External Relations. And Stefanie, you've also worked as a policymaker at the state level on U.S. policy at the Gates Foundation. You were a White House fellow. And probably most importantly, with respect to today's conversation, you've always been incredibly passionate about technology and its role in public life. You even wrote a book several years ago called Civics in the Information Age.
Yeah, back then I actually thought that technology was going to bring us together, that Generation X was going to save the world, and that email was a force for good. A lot has changed since I wrote that.
Indeed it has. And I'd love to dig into that. What are these two codes we're talking about that every student needs to know, and what makes them so important today?
Well, at the highest level, it's technology and the Constitution. One is the engine of our economy, and the other is the foundation of our democracy. And so why are they important? Well, I think one simple fact and one more complicated one. The simple fact is there's a huge demand for tech jobs and for people to fill them. There's tech talent. It's one of the fastest growing professions in America and has implications across a whole bunch of professions. The more complicated fact is I don't think anybody would dispute that our democracy is strained right now in a lot of ways, and particularly put under strain by the pressures of the pace and intensity of technological advance. So our belief is that if you can master these two codes, you can shape the future instead of just be shaped by it. You can get a better job and build a better democracy.
All makes sense. You're not saying everyone needs to become a coder, though.
No, not at all. You don't need to be a computer programmer, and you don't need to be a constitutional lawyer, but you do need to be comfortable sort of navigating civic life and the basic principles of technology. We really believe that. And right now we think of sort of civics and technology as really as separate realms, and I think as a nation we're really paying a price for that. We believe those forces are actually deeply linked. And we thinking about them as two codes makes that link explicit to students. We believe that students that have a command of both of those disciplines will be the most engaged and impactful citizens in the 21st century.
Now, aren't the skills needed to master each of these codes pretty different?
I think too many people, and too many students in particular, think of these things as binary, right? Or somehow in conflict, that, I'm either a math person or a history person or a technology person, or good with technology or good with books. But we found actually, as we've really dive into these redesign of these new courses, they're not as different as you might think. Both disciplines are about having a code and then applying it to solve problems in your community.
So let me circle back for a second. How did we come up with this idea of the two codes?
Well, we're a 100-year-old education nonprofit, and we have always thought hard about the world that students are going to enter in after they leave high school. And we asked ourselves, what can we do to help prepare young people to be strong, effective citizens? We believe they need knowledge, skills, and agency. And said another way, they need to know things, need to know how to do things, and then have confidence that they can make a difference in the world. And that last point's really important, because without that belief, we think that people get cynical, right? Without that sense of agency, they feel like they feel powerless and lose trust in institutions. And whether that's losing trust in the institutions of government, of civic life, of higher ed, and of tech companies. To borrow a contemporary phrase, they believe the system is rigged. And then that feeling plays into the broader concern that these are big forces that are shaping our lives, and that they're distant, mysterious, and there's nothing we can do about it, that they're impossible to control. So it's from that dynamic that we came up with this notion of two codes. We believe that there's a demand for people, increasingly, that speak both the language of technology and of the Constitution. So if you can see examples of it everywhere now. If you look at Washington Monthly, just had a fascinating article where they talked about the dearth of tech-savvy staff on Capitol Hill, and they pointed to a vivid example, the exchange between Mark Zuckerberg and the Senate panel late last year. So, literally, it's lawmakers were sort of ignorant of the basic structures of the tech industry. One of the senators asked, "How do you make money if you give all your stuff away for free?" And so Zuckerberg just looked at him and said, "Well, Senator, we sell ads." Well, and if you think about that, on the flip side, then you have tech firms who seem oblivious to, to the democratic implications of their work. So, I mean, think about this. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg and his company give 2.5 billion people a printing press and a giant global megaphone. And it didn't seem to occur to those super smart computer programmers that the mission of building community and bringing people together, closer together across the world, might connect very bad people as well as very good ones, and that might be pretty disruptive to our country and to our democracy. I mean, just think about this for a second. 1/3 of humanity logs on to Facebook regularly. That fact alone can raise some pretty thorny policy issues. So what we look at those moments and we say that's the peril of only knowing one code.
Yeah. So let's talk about what the College Board is doing to tackle that problem.
Well, we've been at this a while. In 2014, we redesigned the SAT to feature the founding documents, to reinforce the understanding of the Constitution and its central role in the life of our nation. And then to capitalize on technology at scale, we partnered with Khan Academy to do personalized learning at scale, to bring the practice for the SAT and a practice for college to students across the world, to students across the country. Then starting in 2015, we partnered with the National Science Foundation to create a new course, AP Computer Science Principles, to transform and diversify the pipeline of tech talent. In 2016, we redesigned our AP Government and Politics course to put the Constitution and the founding documents at the center of that, as well as 15 Supreme Court cases to really ground young people in the debates that are shaping our democracy today. And then last year, we worked with the National Constitution Center to put together a 2-week course on the 5 freedoms of the First Amendment. And that will roll out to AP classrooms across the country, and we're thrilled to have parts of it narrated by Justice Kagan and Justice Gorsuch.
So in the greater scheme of things that you talked about, why do you feel it's important to undertake 2 codes now?
Well, I mean, we looked at the data, and we found, when we began to redesign this course, that there were entire states without a single African American, a single Hispanic student, or a female student who were taking the AP computer science course. Now, just think about that. Entire states without a single person of color, young person of color. Think about that, what that means for the tech industry. So we felt like we had to act. We needed to break that stereotype of the lonely basement-dwelling coder and create a broader invitation so that a broader base of students would really be able to find computer science and see it as sort of an interesting and approachable discipline. So instead of requiring students to dive right in first shot out of the gate and learn a brand new language like C++ or Java, we invited them to find a problem that they wanted to solve and be able to then to build an app or develop a web platform to really use this new code to be able to solve a problem that they cared about. And is there any more urgent problem in our country today than the state of our democracy?
And the results so far?
Well, the preliminary results look really good. AP Computer Science Principle is the fastest growing course in the 60-year history of the AP program. Between 2016 and 2017, we doubled the number of girls, and we nearly tripled the number of African American and Latino students who got college credit on an AP Computer Science exam. And last Friday, nearly 100,000 students across the country took an AP Computer Science exam. In AP Government and Politics, we added a project requirement so that in the course, students apply what they learned about their government in their own communities. There was actually a great example just this past school year. A class in New Jersey actually passed a bill through Congress to reopen cold case files in the civil rights era. What's interesting is there's a surprising similarity. You think about these things, about technology and civics as being very different, but they really are similar, right? They involve baseline knowledge, problem solving, collaboration, and the chance to be able to work on real world problems. Both of these courses now are designed to build knowledge, skills, and agency among our young people in the most critical disciplines across our country. And probably the most fun now, and this is at the essence of two codes, is that how do we bring these two courses and these two disciplines together? We're working to connect them, but also to cross-pollinate them. So we work to see projects in computer science take on civic and democratic topics, and to see projects in computer science principles tackle projects in civics.
So we're coming up on time, so I just wanted to say, are we tackling this alone?
Oh, we can't do it alone. I mean, that's why we're talking about this everywhere we go. We really want partners. The good news is we reach millions of students through the AP program and through the SAT and two courses, and we've discovered a lot of groups that want to help. We're working with Code.org and institutions like Code.org to help recruit and train teachers, companies like Apple to do the same. We've worked with Amazon to recruit great computer science students for internships and scholarships, but we've got a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, we need more companies offering internships to show students how all this connects to the real world. We need mentors, especially in underrepresented communities, who model, who connect, who are encouraging students and sharing stories. And probably more than anything else, we need more teachers. Anytime you try to introduce new courses like computer science, one of the biggest obstacles is teachers who are trained to teach those courses. So we're there to support any organization who can help us get more trained computer science teachers in classrooms. So
that's why we're here. So we hope you'll tweet about it. We hope you'll call your congressman and come see us after the panel. We'd love to work with you.
Great. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.